For amplified relief, replace your next bottle of CBD with CBK1. CBK1 is a patented anti-inflammatory formulation designed to be faster acting, stronger, and longer lasting than traditional CBD. Perfect for anyone dealing with chronic and acute pain to athletes looking to gain a competitive edge. Shop capsules and topicals at cbk1.com. Free shipping to all 50 U.S. states, third-party lab tested for safety, and 100% THC free, derived from U.S. grown hemp. cbk1.com.
It's only entertainment.
Welcome back to The Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Welcome back to the Green Rush. This is live. This is the Business of Cannabis podcast. Green Rush, 2-hour weekly live cannabis business talk show produced by Pro Cannabis Media every Friday from 4 to 6 Eastern. We discuss news, issues in the cannabis market each week, conducting a deeper dive into specific topics of the industry. This week, we are going to dive into everything that is psilocybin. That's the hallucinogenic compound derived from magic mushrooms. We're going to talk about psilocybin, plant medicine developments, and does that take away from the cannabis movement? We're going to talk about all of that with some guests coming up. But this first segment, we've got Jimmy. Jimmy's going to be on board with Riley Cote. He is.
I hope it's Riley Cote.
Is it Cote?
It's I think it is.
Is it pronounced Cote?
Yeah,
not bad. I thought it was Cote.
He's been on with Dave Briggs before, so I'm going to go. And by the way, Josh, that was a great intro. But tell the people who you are.
I'm Josh Kincaid. I'm a capital markets analyst, but today I'm going to be the host. I've got a podcast called The Talking Hedge. It's a cannabis business podcast, and in my day job, I talk about the markets and finance and everything that is cannabis.
There you go. But yeah. I see that Riley Cote is in the waiting room. I think he can hear us. Maybe he'll give us he just disappeared.
I think he's trying to get his volume all set up.
Yeah. But, John, this is great. I just want to thank you for jumping in here and stepping into the host chair. And if you like it, we'll talk later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no worries.
All right. There's a big boomer happening outside my window here outside of Massachusetts. Riley, are you there?
I'm here now.
There you go. So I
apologize.
Don't apologize. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Jimmy Young. I'm the founder of Pro Cannabis Media. And this is the second time. I don't know if you know this. I'm pretty sure it's the second time you've been on our network because Dave Briggs interviewed you once. Do you remember Dave Briggs?
Absolutely. Yeah.
In the conversation. And now you're going to have Josh Kincaid. So I'm going to go into the chat room and everybody can tell me what a goofball I am. And you two can chit chat about the news of the day and what Riley's up to. Okay.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right.
Nice to see you, Jimmy.
Nice.
Riley, is it true your last name is pronounced Cote and not Cote?
Yeah, it's Cote. It's actually a French name. I just failed to put the accents on there to make it easier for people to read.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So you're co-founder of Wake. That's a fungi innovation for human wellness. And you're also a retired NHL player for Philadelphia Flyers.
Right. I'm actually not a co-founder of Wake. I'm an investor in the company. But trivialities. But yes to the former Philadelphia Flyer.
So you've been on the speaking circuit for a while. You talked about THC and CBD for CTE. Isn't that right? With your time in the NHL playing for the Flyers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's how I got into all this stuff. Really was around TBI, concussions. I was a fighter in hockey, so dealt with a lot of that.
So you've talked about cannabis and using it for those therapeutic purposes, but what about psilocybin? Let's talk about magic mushrooms. When did you first take those and why are you taking them now?
Well, the first time I ever took mushrooms was back in my teenage years, right? 16 years old, recreational settings, no understanding of it. It wasn't until I retired in 2010, the age of 28, that I started using both cannabis, psilocybin, mindfully with an intention, right? I was trying to actually accomplish something where I actually knew what I was trying to accomplish. So it was around TBI, again, being punched in the face several thousand times, over 200 hockey fights, read a couple books, one Hemp for Health, that kind of opened up my understanding around the different cannabinoids and some of their anti-inflammatory properties, neurogenesis properties. And then that just led me down to the next thing, which was understanding psilocybin mushrooms and their therapeutic value, as well as what they do around the brain, right? Their impact on the brain regeneration and neurogenesis. So naturally, I started using these with intent and approaching it as medicine. I've been using cannabis and psilocybin for years, just never had a full understanding of what they were actually doing to me and my brain, and then started using them mindfully. And then it's been an amazing journey ever since, really.
So with psilocybin, though, it's very similar path to cannabis. It's a Schedule 1 narcotic by the DEA, but it's also growing, right? There's a lot of research suggesting that it can be used for addiction and depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder. And in the early days of any industry like this one, we're seeing that nonprofits, there's scrappy startups, they're making up the psychedelic space. And now companies are raising millions from investors going into public exchanges. You started your own business, or at least you're an advisor. So what is Wake all about, and what do we need to know about the booming psychedelic industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like cannabis, you got the real players, and you got you're always gonna have phonies coming out of the woodworks to participate because it's a sexy thing to do. Wake is right now a psilocybin mushroom and tech company. We're looking to work in different psychedelics like ibogaine, MDMA, and ketamine down the road. But right now, psilocybin mushroom cultivation in Jamaica, retreats, registered microdose drug through the Department of Health in Jamaica, phase 2 clinical trials on the microdose drug. Have imported psilocybin mushrooms 5 separate times into the U.S. through the DEA, fully extracted psilocybin, full spectrum oil through the DEA registered lab. So a legitimate psychedelic company, partnership with the Lieber Institute, which has the largest database of genetically profiled brains. So really kind of reverse engineering a lot of this mental health, brain degeneration issues that people deal with, and seeing if psilocybin is a good fit and how it may interact with certain genetic profiles. So a lot of amazing stuff happening, and happy to be a part of it. I almost got stuck in Jamaica before COVID. As COVID hit and they started locking down the borders for international travel, I almost got stuck down there as I participated in the first retreat down there. And I just love what they were doing, not just around mushrooms, because I obviously believed in that, but the tech, the research component, the data collection, as we all need to see the numbers and to validate what we're actually experiencing here. So amazing stuff, honestly.
Why Jamaica? I mean, we see Colombia and they have great terroir. They have experience with coffee and agriculture. They have cheap labor costs. And so all of that makes sense from a commodity standpoint. What is it about Jamaica that's drawing the psilocybin or psychedelic industry to that tiny island?
It's just the laws, right? It's legal and unregulated. So we're trying to build out the footprint here and do as much as we can legally through with the government, just through the proper channels, and then building the infrastructure. And then when different countries go online, different states go online, just kind of transplant the infrastructure there. And so that's really it. I mean, we're working on bringing ibogaine there. It's legal, unregulated. So that's why psychedelic companies are going to Jamaica, right? It's just you just kind of do it where you can, and start building out the footprint. And then as states turn online, then you kind of move the ship there and do what you're doing in Jamaica there.
I'm curious if we're going to see kind of a parallel existence with cannabis and synthetics, think of D8, for example, and you have all these people going in and growing in places that they shouldn't be, like Florida, for example. When there is open borders and global legalization, those places won't be a place to cultivate cannabis, for example. And maybe Jamaica won't be a place to cultivate mushrooms. I don't know. But what I do know is that there will be people that look for synthetic wherever they can because of the cost behind it. It's cheaper. And a lot of psilocybin that's using in clinical trials today is synthesized in laboratories without the use of biological materials. So as the psychedelic assisted therapy gains momentum, and you have consumers, investors needing to understand that difference between current available means of obtaining psilocybin How is that going to be? How's that going to work out? Are we going to see psilocybin produced naturally, organically, or is the synthetic going to take over? Do you have a personal or professional opinion about that?
Well, I have an opinion on it. I think you're going to see a space where both are able to play. What you're seeing in Oregon right now, they've actually only allowed the path for natural psilocybin. Whether that lasts or not is to be determined. But the fact that they rolled out regulations that are fully supporting naturally grown organic psilocybin is pretty amazing, honestly. Like you mentioned, I think all the clinical trials, all the stuff they're doing on a Johns Hopkins is all synthetic. And you're always going to have this debate, right? As you see this in cannabis, where you got like the whole list fully supporting, the full plants, right? It's like full spectrum. We want all the cannabinoids, we want all the terpenes, and you're seeing the same thing here with psilocybin. You got people that obviously believe in the intelligence of the mushroom, right? The mycelial network is something pretty profound when you talk about the intelligence of this. And then you go to a single molecule compound drug, right? And it's synthesized, obviously. I think the market, obviously, just like cannabis, in the psilocybin play is choosing the natural, right? I mean, the biggest test case here is probably microdosing right now, but they're not microdosing synthetic psilocybin. I think there's a renaissance going on. I think there's an increase in consciousness happening that that people are going back to nature for their healing, right? I think we've honestly been fundamentally misled with a lot of different drug developments and applications over the years, and you've seen us be enslaved by the opioid crisis, and how, as highly intelligent people, can we have allowed that to happen? How can we have hit the bullseye on the wrong target? So I personally just think there's always going to be a movement around the naturally occurring or naturally derived psilocybin mushrooms, because that is as ancient as it gets, and that's how humans have evolved. And I think we're reconnecting back to nature. But there is always going to be that pharma play. Absolutely, there's billions of dollars already thrown in that drug development. One disease, one molecule type of play. But what I really believe is the core of this issue around mental health is that these aren't really medical issues we're dealing with, right? Yeah, it creates imbalances in the brain chemistry. But these are spiritual issues, and this is spiritual medicine. And I think once we start reconnecting back to source energy and reconnecting back to nature and this element of oneness, and living more through the heart and less in the mind, like all these spiritual things, like we can sever a lot of these disease states, these medical labels. Because in my opinion, we're essentially spiritually bankrupt. This is exactly what we're dealing with here, right? We're at like a precipice of time where the human condition is lost. Like we've just lost our way, and then here we are, in this psychedelic renaissance and this opportunity to help reconnect humans back to their divine spirit. And that, to me, that's what it is. That's why this is so sacred. That's why indigenous tribes have been holding on to these medicines for eons, right? And then here we come, like, oh yeah, we're gonna patent the shit out of everything, and we're gonna try and control the market and all that. And you see that with cannabis, right? I mean, like CBD, it's like probably the safest molecule. Again, the debate of molecule versus full spectrum, that's for another day. But like, the FDA just can't find a stance on it. It can't actually make a legitimate, pathway for whether food and beverage to play in this, right? Because it's just, the science is so political. It's so misleading. And I would like to be honest around this conversation, honestly, because it's just too much bullshit in the science of, right? It's just so many people just lobbying for position, and their stance is generally not really backed by science. It's backed by money, and that's the world we live in. I mean, unfortunately.
There was also a lot of philanthropic folks in the industry that jumped ship from cannabis to the psychedelic industry, and I'm wondering if those folks are just there as carpetbaggers wanting to make money or get highs that like the effects, Does it matter that they're not philanthropic, or does it matter that they're not, in it for the spirituality? Is it taking away from that industry having a bunch of folks jumping in? Does it matter either way?
I mean, I think it matters, of course, right? I mean, I think you'd always want people to do things for the right reasons. Unfortunately, we don't live in a world that people generally do things for the right reasons, right? It's usually selfishness, not selflessness, right? And a lot of people claim they're doing it for the good of the good of the gander, and they're doing this for the movement and all that stuff. But again, you're always going to see this. Just people see an opportunity, and there's a sexiness and a uniqueness around it, and they just want to hop into it just because. And again, whether it's satisfying to the ego, or they really think that they're going to make $1 billion overnight, whatever the case may be. I mean, you've probably seen a lot of people's egos being checked in cannabis that thought they were going to hop in, and it's going to be just like this, this golden goose is just going to pump out money. I think a lot of people probably made money, but I think probably more people lost money in cannabis, as it stands right now. And I think if your heart's not in it the right way, and if you're not genuine with your approach to it, I think this, again, cannabis is spiritual too, right? There's a level of consciousness that comes along with that, and I think if you go in it with the wrong intentions, I think the universe finds a way to wean out the people that have a dark stain on it. So there's always going to be these people, right? And you can always see these shitty companies coming up and claiming to save the world, but you look at the people behind them a lot of the times, and they're soulless. They're just there to exploit and take advantage of something sacred.
What makes Wake unique in that fact?
Well, we're growing organically, growing mushrooms with substrates like bamboo and lemongrass. Not that it's about the substrate, but it's clean. It's a very clean grow. The technology component, the headgear, the data collection, the research component. I think everyone's claims to be doing that, but we're legitimately doing it, and we're showing it. We've recently filmed a E60 documentary with ESPN that's going to be airing in October. That's going to show the world like legitimately what we're doing, and it's for real. And I think everyone talks about integration, but there's a huge focus on integration. Like, to me, like, the integration is the lifestyle that needs to be taught. And the psychedelics really need to support it, right? It needs a catalyst to help jumpstart people's spiritual path. Like, again, going back to my point, like, we're spiritually disconnected, and we need something to just like light a fire, create some sort of like little ripple awakening to help change the pathway moving forward. This is a lifestyle, right? So heavy on the integration, even right? I mean, this needs to start before you actually ingest a psychedelic. It's not just like come in for your treatment and then see you later, like this, like it's going to magically change all your whole life and fix all your problems, right? At the end of the day, we need to do the work. We are the medicine. Just Mother Nature has blessed us with some pretty profound compounds that can help be the catalyst to make change. And then outside of that, we're working on closing a deal with a series of clinics in the US too. So in the ketamine space, that's going to again start building out our footprint here, and really just doing what we can legitimately and professionally, and not turning our backs on the true indigenous ways, right? I mean, there's this melding of like indigenous and Western practices of philosophy's approach to holding space and ceremony. And I've participated in several indigenous ceremonies, and I've seen some of the Western clinical models, and it's they're almost polar opposites. But I think there needs to be a dance between the two. Because this is sacred medicine, but we do need to understand that we're obviously dealing with Westerners, the Western world and the industrialized world, and things have changed, and and playing that game too. So,
Well, with that, I think we have to take a break. It's 4:20 somewhere, but if somebody wants to follow up with you, whether it's cannabis, ketamine, or the psilocybin psychedelic industry, where can they get a hold of you at? Where are you at?
Well, RileyCote.com, or you can just email me at Riley@RileyCote.com, and then we could chat and figure it out.
Easy enough. And then you're still advisor with Wake. People want to check out Wake. Where are they at?
Yeah, wake.net. And then again, you could reach out to me at RileyCote.com, or Nick at wake.net. But wake.net is a pretty good resource to understand what we're up to and go from there.
Okay. Well, stay tuned, everybody. We got a great panel coming up. We got to take a quick break for 4:20. But Riley Cote, appreciate you being on, and we're going to have you back on for sure. But thanks again, and make sure you have a great weekend. But everybody else, come right back. We'll be right back. With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out. Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.
Hello, hemp friends. This is your host, Morris, from Volume Up, the Let's Talk Hemp podcast, where we explore and discuss all things hemp all the time. From industrial to nutritional to therapeutic to lifestyle, hemp has a place and a home pretty much everywhere. Download episodes now of the Let's Talk Hemp podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Come get loud with me on Volume Up as we take industrial hemp to a whole new level in 2022 and beyond.